Welcome to the Happier Life Project, the official podcast from the award-winning mental health and wellness app, My Possible Self. Hosted by broadcaster and journalist Gabby Sanderson.
Hello and welcome to the podcast that explores the tools, insights and conversations to help you live a happier, healthier and more fulfilling life. I'm Gabby. Have you ever found yourself asking, why do I keep ending up in the same kind of relationship? Maybe you keep falling for people who are emotionally unavailable, withdrawn, constantly second-guessing where you stand, or giving everything to someone who never quite meets you halfway. If that sounds familiar, this episode is for you, my friend. Because the truth is, our relationship patterns don't begin when we start dating someone. They often begin much earlier, in childhood. The way we were loved, comforted, rejected, or understood quietly shapes what we believe we deserve, what we tolerate, and even who we're drawn to without realising it. Today's guest is relationship therapist and anxious attachment healing coach, Erica Turner, who has helped thousands of people understand the hidden patterns driving their relationships and, more importantly, how to change them. In this conversation, we explore why parental wounds continue to influence our romantic lives and how our subconscious often puts us on relationship autopilot. We also unpack the 4 major attachment styles and the powerful role they play in our relationships. Erica explains why we can become so attracted to people who are unsure about us, how to recognise the red flags and emotional triggers we so often overlook, and what it actually feels like to date someone with a secure attachment style. Erica also shares one simple question that has the power to completely change the way we choose our partners. Is this person aligned with who I am? And there's one story Erica told me that actually stopped me in my tracks. After confronting somebody who had treated her terribly, and she asked him why he'd been such a jerk, he replied with a question that completely shifted her perspective. It became a turning point for Erica in understanding boundaries, self-worth, and why choosing ourselves is often the first step towards finding healthy love. That moment ultimately set Erica on the path to helping thousands of people move from anxious attachment to feeling secure, grounded, and at ease, regardless of what somebody else does or doesn't do or say. She now shares that work through her private coaching, workshops, and with her hundreds of thousands of followers on Instagram. And she very generously offers some really insightful and helpful food for thought and guidance here on this episode for those of you who overthink, overgive, and betray yourself, so that you can start to move towards building healthier relationships without losing yourself and sacrificing your needs in the process. Whether you're dating, healing from heartbreak, stuck in a relationship where you know deep down you deserve better, or maybe you simply want to understand yourself and your relationship patterns on a deeper level. This conversation is packed with practical advice, powerful mindset shifts, and plenty of those light bulb moments. So let's get into it. Ready to find a healthier, happier you? Let's get started. Welcome, Erica Turner, to the Happier Life
you.
Project podcast.
Thank you for having me. Glad to be here.
Thank you so much for coming on the show. Our overarching theme today is why we stay stuck in relationship patterns that don't feel good and how to break the cycle of anxious attachment, emotional unavailability, and self-abandonment. So all of the stuff which you are incredibly knowledgeable and wise about. I do think this conversation is going to resonate with a lot, and I think it's the kind of foundations of why so many people struggle in relationships is trying to figure out this attachment stuff. And then it's like what to do with it when we know which category we might kind of fall into, but then it's like, okay, we can work on ourselves, but then maybe not our partner. And then it just, it all can be quite stressful, and it can absolutely take a toll on our mental health. So why do you think from the get-go then that we fall into this trap of repeating the same relationship patterns?
Yeah, I would say that for the majority of us, myself included, I was repeating these patterns for years because of unawareness. You cannot feel a problem that you're not fully seeing. And I think a lot of us get stuck on the pattern they're noticing in the other person. They won't call me back. They're pulling away. They ghosted me again. They're so fill in the blank. But we struggle to tune our attention inward to focus on our own patterns because it's safer to do that. It feels less threatening to the self, the ego, to say they're unavailable, they're an avoidant, they're a narcissist, and not look inward at ourselves.
So would you say a lot of our dating and relationship behavior is based then or driven by old patterns that are kind of running in the background
100%.
unconsciously? Yeah.
100%. I read that 95% of our functioning, our choices, our decisions, our triggers are run by the subconscious part of the mind, not our conscious thinking mind that we're using right now to have this conversation. So if you're not aware of the core beliefs that are driving your life, you're going to stay stuck in these patterns.
So we're kind of like on autopilot in
100%.
our relationship behavior, even when we think we're not, because we're causing ourselves a lot of anxiety in it.
Yes.
Let's go into then a little bit, if you don't mind, about attachment styles just from the get-go. So then when we refer to them, I mean, I'm sure most of our listeners and app users know something by now, and especially thanks to social media, the term anxiously attached or emotionally unavailable, avoidant, it's all kind of thrown around, isn't it? But could we just have, like, from you, an expert, a bit of clarity on each of the attachment styles, please?
Sure. Yeah. Brief, simple overview. There are 4 attachment styles. Anxious attachment style, also known, could be called ambivalent anxious attachment. Then there's fearful avoidance or disorganized attachment style. The third one is dismissive avoidance. And the fourth one is secure attachment, the all elusive secure attachment that we're all
goals
striving for.
Yeah. And not many of us are there, I think.
Correct. Right. We're all trying to get there.
So there's 2 different types of avoidant. Did you say dismissive is one?
So yeah, dismissive avoidance is usually someone who's grown up in a home where their needs were consistently unmet. Needs for emotional connection, presence, to feel seen, to feel safe, to feel soothed. These needs were consistently unmet, and this person as a child learned to deal with this chronic neglect by pulling back, avoiding the relationship, saying, you know what, I'm not even going to attempt to try to get this parent to meet my needs because it's not going to happen. And then we have the fearful avoidant / disorganized. These terms are synonymous, where there's a mix of leaning in and also pulling back because this person wants connection, but fears it at the same time. So you'll see kind of a mixed bag there of leaning in and pulling away.
Oh, okay. Thank you for clarifying that, actually, because I would have put my last relationship in the dismissive one, but actually when you broke it down, I think it's more the fearful one. There we go. You see, every day is a school day.
That's right. We learn something every day. Yes.
Yeah. Do you know what actually really blows my mind? It's the fact that these are like things that happen in our childhood when we're kids are basically driving us as a fully grown adults. The relationship with our parent or lack of, we're imitating that in our dating lives. I find it crazy.
Yes. It's like, when we're born, they say those first 7 years is what forms our self-concept, how we view ourself. And when I say self, I like to say, these 5 or 6 core parts of self are needs, emotions, boundaries, preferences, values, and beliefs. These core parts of ourselves are formed, our identity is formed within these first 7 years based on how our parent is relating to us, because they are our idol. We put them up on this pedestal as they know best, and our sole goal is survival, right? We need to feel connected and close to them in order to live. So we're going to go along with whatever they say, however they treat us is then how we're going to feel about ourselves. So if a parent is consistently, or in the case of an anxiously attached person, a parent is inconsistent with meeting our needs. Sometimes they're present and available and it's great, and sometimes they're not. So that's why we develop that hypervigilance. That's why we're always hyper focused on changes in tone or energy, because we've been primed to be aware of these things so that we can figure out, okay, how do I navigate this dynamic? How do I maintain closeness to my parent? And so think about the messages that a child is downloading as a result of how they're being treated. My needs aren't important. My emotions are a bother. No one cares about how I feel. These messages become our self-concept. This is how we then view ourselves. So then, like you said, that's how we enter a relationship in adulthood, with this subconscious core belief of my needs don't matter. And that's going to drive how you show up.
So then why on earth do we go for partners that are highlighting all of that unresolved stuff?
Repetitive compulsion is our brain's way of trying to correct all of what went wrong. So we are seeking partners that feel familiar, seeking partners that allow us to play out these same patterns and dynamics. Maybe you were conditioned to, have to prove yourself as a child. Only through XYZ can I feel close to my parent. So in adulthood, I'm going to choose the same type of partner who doesn't make me feel like I'm being chosen just as myself. I have to do all this extra work. The subconscious mind's hope is that by playing out this dynamic, hopefully we can get a better outcome, a different outcome, an outcome where I finally feel chosen so I can correct this horrible experience from long ago.
So how can we tell the difference then between something that is, say, a red flag or a trigger when we are getting to know somebody, knowing a little bit about our attachment styles? And I think people, especially if they're really keen to meet somebody, they can jump in and they can get invested, maybe a little too invested early on. How do we protect ourselves better? I think that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah. This is such an interesting question. I've never sat and really thought about the difference between a red flag and a trigger, because so many people get tripped up on that, right? Like, is this truly a red flag? Yeah. Or am I just being triggered and I'm making this a bigger deal than it is?
Yeah, especially if you're anxious.
Right. So I would want to just start with connecting back to those 5 or 6 parts of yourself that I was talking about earlier that you've become disconnected from, that you learned you had to disconnect from in order to make relationship work, right? If I'm conditioned to believe my needs are a problem, then I've disconnected from my needs. I don't even know what my needs are. So in relationships, then I'm second guessing. Is this need legitimate? Is this a red flag that this person won't meet this need? Or am I just overreacting? Well, if you don't know what your needs are, then you're always going to be second guessing. You're always going to be letting the other person define the validity of your needs. So getting crisp before you enter dating, even if you're dating or in a relationship now, doesn't matter. Take the time to sit with and think about, what are my needs? Irregardless of this person that I'm dating, what are my needs? What are my boundaries? What are my preferences? What are my values? What are my beliefs? If you're not crystal clear on these parts of yourself, it's always going to be, is this a red flag or not? That this person is doing X, Y, Z.
That's such a good point. Yeah. And I would say to complicate things even further, red flag trigger, or you can spot that it's without finger pointing, I suppose. But like if say they are emotionally unavailable or whatever, it's their attachment style, then it's also kind of wondering if it's worth it, if they're willing to work on that, if you can communicate that. It all gets very complex, doesn't it?
Yes, I think when the other person enters the picture, it's just another layer added to it all, which is why I encourage my clients to formulate a secure foundation of self first and foremost. I'm not saying it's all about you and your needs, but we need to have a solid foundation of who am I? What are these core parts of myself? And then once a relationship comes along, then there's the compromise, then there's the compatibility, blah, blah, blah. But first, who am I? Right? Because if I don't even know what my preferences are, then I'm not going to know if it's a red flag that after the first date or second date, someone wants me to come back to their house. Is that a red flag? Well, my question is, does that make you uncomfortable or not? Is that something that you do? Is that a preference of yours to go home with someone after the second date and spend time in private? I'm not even talking about intimacy. I'm talking about, do I feel comfortable in someone's home that I just met 2 dates ago? Just sit with, what am I comfortable with? What are my preferences? We don't know. And then we're going to think, oh, I'm overreacting. I'm being triggered for no reason.
What do you think about the term emotional unavailability? Because I feel like it gets used a lot, and sometimes it can be used as an excuse to reason for the partner's behavior, or by the partner as like, I'm wounded, hence the fact I'm emotionally unavailable. It's used in movies. It's almost seen as like quite attractive, I think, sometimes on screen, like that mysterious kind of thing. So again, that can be really quite confusing, can't it? Why do you think so many of us do go for emotionally unavailable people?
I think the people who go for emotionally unavailable people were raised by parents who are also emotionally unavailable. So this feels, again, like we were saying earlier, very familiar. It doesn't feel like a red flag. It doesn't feel like something to run from. It feels like, this is what I'm used to.
Yeah.
This is how people relate to each other. There's a degree of emotional absence. And I learned as a child, I don't run from emotional absence. I don't just go break up with my parent and seek my needs elsewhere. I have to stay here. I don't have another option. I'm completely dependent on this parent for my safety, my needs, etc. So then what happens is we develop a really high tolerance for our emotional needs going unmet. And so then in adulthood, we're like, emotional unavailability, sign me up. I know how to show up here. I know what to do. I know how to prove myself. I know how to minimize myself. and the cycle just repeats.
Yeah. Is that why then sometimes, like, if somebody is emotionally available or like securely attached, people can think it is a bit boring, because they're used to that kind of state of, it's anxiety and excitement, isn't it? And the lines get very blurred, that fight or flight feeling.
Right. Because when we're out there dating, we're drawn to what feels familiar, not what feels healthy. So if it feels familiar to me to be with an unavailable person, someone who's emotionally absent, and then this emotionally available person comes along and they're secure and they're just fully present with me and they're direct and they let me know how they feel about me and they're consistent and they're timely. My body's like, well, what do I do with this?
Mm-hmm.
I don't even know how to show up here. I don't even know what to do with someone who is simply here and present, because now I have to be just here and present and available. I don't have to go through all my tricks of people pleasing and minimizing myself and chasing and earning and proving. Now I'm just here and I don't know what to do.
Yeah. So
I don't know how to be available myself.
Yeah.
That's the thing a lot of people don't want to admit.
Yeah.
I too am also emotionally unavailable.
Yeah. So rather than go inwards, I'll go outwards and I'll look for a reason for the other person. And it's maybe that they're too boring.
Yeah.
There's no spark or whatever.
Right. And the spark is, in terms of this conversation, a feeling of familiarity, because the brain releases the dopamine when someone is treating us in a way that feels familiar to that parent. So I ask you to go beyond that feeling of spark and to assess true compatibility and look for that part of the connection, not just operate off of attraction. Attraction's great. I'm not saying don't seek attraction, but it's like, okay, there's a spark. I'm vibing with this person. Check. What else is here? Because most of us just feel the attraction and run with it,
Yeah. Well, it's called a spark because eventually it fizzles out, right? Sparklers don't carry on forever. But talking about like the fear of abandonment is something that comes up a lot in your work, and rightly so, I suppose, because I think it is such a driver, isn't it? Like, for maybe all but the securely attached can present in different ways. What's actually happening psychologically that, when this fear takes hold that we're going to get left, like what's kind of going on there? Is that again back to childhood?
Yes, 100%. When you're dating someone or in a relationship and you sense them pulling away, you sense the space and the distance, maybe they even ghost you. The panic arises. The knee-jerk trigger is I'm unsafe. I'm threatened. My needs are going to go unmet. I have to be alone again. And I say again very intentionally, because if you have this prior experience of being emotionally or physically abandoned, it truly was unsafe for you as a child to not feel that connection. So now your nervous system remembers that feeling of I'm not safe, and it pairs it with absence from someone else. So now in adulthood, when someone pulls away, that same panic is arising because the nervous system, the body feels like, oh no, I'm unsafe. There's a threat. There's danger. So we lean in, try harder, prove, get them back.
It's awful. I'm glad you brought up the word lonely as well, because I did have that in my notes to talk to you about, because loneliness is very real. And now in a way we're more connected than ever digitally. I think that the fear of abandonment and the fear of being alone, we do settle for breadcrumbs. We do justify people's actions. We do suppress our own needs because maybe like we do go for long stints without meeting anybody or being in a relationship. and we remember feeling very lonely. So what do you think is the answer there? I know self-abandonment, you teach a lot on, you know, with your courses and stuff like that, and you advocate for healing yourself. And I completely agree with that. But I do also think that, like, looking at studies, the loneliness epidemic since COVID is very real. And I think it's like, it can sometimes, if I'm honest, on social media, it can come across as a bit wishy-washy to be like, you know, you'll never be lonely if you find yourself. Everybody wants to meet somebody and have a love
100%.
Story, don't they?
Yes.
Apart from maybe monks and asexuals, but, you know, let's say the majority.
Yeah. We are human beings, like you said, designed to bond and connect. Of course, we all have a need for connection, for relationship. The thing that I want my anxiously attached clients and people out there to do is not betray yourself for that connection. That's the premise of, you know, how I hope to encourage people to show up in their relationships. If someone is consistently unavailable, absent, breadcrumbing you, not treating you how you want to be treated, disengage and seek your need for connection elsewhere. That's my message.
What about, though, for the people out there is a scarcity mindset, isn't there? You know, and dating apps have a lot to answer for. In one way, you might say they're helping people meet somebody, but in another way, it's very much designed to keep you on there and to keep you swiping.
Right. Scarcity mindset and the feeling of not being able to tolerate being alone, meaning be with myself. I'm not saying that you should be okay with being single forever. No, like we said, we're here to connect. Mm-hmm. But I want you to think about, why is it so unsettling for me to be with myself? Why is my mindset automatically that of scarcity? If we grew up in homes where we are physically or emotionally abandoned, being with myself is not a comfortable place to be as a child. Mm-hmm. If I'm crying and my parent tells me I'm overreacting, go to your room, there's nothing wrong with you, and you're shunned away to your room and you're alone. That doesn't feel good, to be alone with all these big feelings. So the conditioning starts very early that being alone, being with myself is not safe. It doesn't feel good. I don't know what to do with all these big feelings. And then where does the scarcity mindset come in? I'm always going to be alone. No one's going to choose me, because that was my lived experience. Mm-hmm. Right? So that's why we hold this scarcity mindset, because that's what you know. So yeah, I don't like to get into, like you were saying, all of the cliche, just love yourself, when it comes to healing. But there does need to be a capacity to be with myself. I think we should all be able to be with the parts of ourselves that we've disconnected from, and be okay being with ourselves. Being with the self shouldn't feel like this punishment. Mm. And I think the more we start to choose these parts of ourselves, the less unbearable being with the self is, particularly in that micro moment when that person begins to pull away, which is usually such a trigger for so many people.
Such a trigger. I love the title of one of your masterclasses, From Worried to Worthy. And I think that's kind of like a little bit what we're touching upon. And I couldn't help but think as well, when you were talking, that like your social media handles, it's the relationship reset. And you might think that is between two people, but what I'm actually hearing is a lot of this is actually the relationship reset within yourself. And that's our path to secure attachment. Not an easy one. How was it for you? Because I know this is kind of a big inspiration as to what has led you to become a therapist in this particular topic.
Yeah, my healing journey, I will never forget the kind of light bulb moment that I had when I was being dumped, and I said, I can't believe you treated me this way. You're such a jerk. And he said, well, why did you let me?
Oh.
And that question was the question that stopped me in my tracks and led me into doing a lot of healing, because it really snapped me out of my days. Why did I let this person treat me like this? Why did I tolerate all of this?
I wonder if he knew how profound he was being in that moment.
Definitely not.
Yeah, let's not give them credit. Wow, that is so true though, isn't it? Like the way you're saying things as we're chatting, it is like making me think about my own kind of relationship history and think about times where, maybe I have not gone it, even though we know we're supposed to go inwards. I think it's just the way you're kind of framing things is making me think, oh, actually.
Yeah. Oh, good.
Yeah.
Light bulbs for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. Well, this is the point, right, of our chat. So how do you suggest that we navigate then with the unsure partner? You know, they've got one foot in, one foot out. And again, that can start to press all kinds of buttons, can't it? And we can start to feel a bit triggered. They're going to leave me. And I feel like you can go one of two ways again if you're not securely attached. And that's either try desperately to prove your worth and to get maybe a bit clingy, or to just hope for the best, cross your fingers and toes, and just like silently be left in kind of limbo, I suppose, thinking, you know, if I'm kind of quiet enough or whatever, then they'll come round. It's not very healthy for us though, is it?
No. And when we're choosing someone who's unsure about us, we're doing that because this type of person, this unavailable person, this person who's not fully able to meet my needs, again, is reminding me of that parent, because there's the parallel there. The parent made me feel, do they love me? Do they care about me? Can they meet my needs? Are they fully choosing me? Right? So, you know, that's how we feel. Even if we're not thinking this as a 5-year-old, it's how we feel. Am I worthy? So that's how we feel with this person who's not fully choosing us. Because there is someone out there, I know this one sounds cliche.
Oh, here we go.
But who will
go on.
fully choose you?
Yeah.
There is someone out there who will fully choose you. But if you are not fully choosing you because you continue to, I'll just wait, I'll just put my needs aside, I'll just kind of downplay how upset I am and just wait a little longer, right? I'm not choosing myself. And so why would I expect then for me to attract in someone who's also going to choose me? I do believe in we attract what we're putting out.
Right.
If I'm someone who's emotionally unavailable, I'm going to attract an emotionally unavailable. If I'm someone who's not fully choosing me, I'm going to choose someone who's not fully choosing me.
Yeah.
Because just imagine the shift in the dynamic when you start to choose your preferences, your boundaries, your needs, your feelings. And when I say choose, I simply mean to notice and honor these things. I'm upset. I'm not going to stuff it down. I'm going to communicate. And then I get to see how my partner responds to my truth. And it's basically me saying, I'm choosing me. Will you choose me too?
I think if you've gotten to know somebody quite a bit, then intuitively you might know what the outcome's going to be. You just don't want to go there. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I think it's like, well, that means I've invested the last 6 months, 12 months, 2 years, whatever, investing my time and hopes and dreams in this person to then be back at square one. I think that's kind of eating away at us quietly in the background, isn't it?
Yes, 100%. And I hear that all the time. I've invested so much time already. What if I should just keep going? And It's like you're just continuing to invest time in someone who continues to show you they are unwilling or unable to be what you need. They don't have the capacity. And I have to check in with myself and realize that my pattern is to continue to make myself available to the unavailable, because that's what I had to do as a kid. And so it's like, I'm going to have to make a promise to myself that I'm not going to continue to choose someone who's not fully choosing me. But that's petrifying.
What would you say to somebody in that case who keeps hoping that if they're patient enough, supportive enough, understanding enough, or accommodating enough, their partner will eventually choose them? Does that ever happen?
Two things, I guess I would say. One, top level. I want to phrase this right. I guess I would really want to inquire with the part of this person that is holding on. Because from what I'm hearing in the question, the person is conflicted. Part of them wants to walk away, knows they should walk away, knows this isn't working. And then part of you is holding on. Part of you is hoping and waiting and wishing. And I would really want to encourage you to get really present and curious towards the part of you that's holding on, the part of you that doesn't want to walk away. What is this part afraid will happen if you walk away? Another question I would want you to ask this part is, what does it mean about you if this person doesn't choose you? And really, this is about that self-inquiry, that process of tuning our attention away from the other person and really trying to get to know and be aware of ourselves, our pattern, and what is holding us here in the first place. Uncovering core beliefs that we may hold that we're not even aware of. Uncovering fears that we may not be aware of because we've been so externally focused on just wait, just hope, just keep them happy. And we're not even thinking about ourselves.
Yeah, and then when it does get to that point of expressing your needs, wherever you are in your relationship timeline, that's really hard, I think, for a lot of people, especially if they are used to suppressing them. And that would, again, go back to childhood, wouldn't it? But what would be some ways to start to do that? Because I think there's that fear that you're going to come across as too difficult, too demanding, especially if this is to somebody who's in a relationship and maybe has been in one for a while and then is like, oh, this is inspiring me to actually advocate for myself a bit more. Like, where do we start?
Yeah. Going back to that foundation of self, right? What are my needs? What are my relationship needs? What are my needs as a human being? What needs do I want my partner to fulfill for me? What needs am I also going to fulfill for myself, and how? I want you to have that clarity within yourself first and foremost. And then when you go to ask for what your needs are in the relationship, and of course there's a lot of nuance, right? But if I have a need for quality time and my partner has pickleball on Friday and then Saturday they're going to go to the gym and then Sunday they've got brunch plans and it's like, oh, I'm just feeling squeezed in.
Yeah.
Hey, I really love quality time. I really love spending time with the person that I'm dating. And that's what helps me feel more connected and helps me feel like I know, that we're moving in the right direction. Is spending more time together something that we can make happen? And then you hear the response. I don't want people to get tripped up on how to phrase it in the perfect way. It's this is what I'm noticing. This is what I need. What do you think? That's it. And when you're so grounded and rooted in this is what I need, and I'm not going to apologize for it, and I'm not going to betray myself and pretend that I don't need this thing just to make you happy and keep you around and get your breadcrumbs, then we'll more confidently express the need and take the person's response as information, not as a reflection of us. Oh, they can't meet my needs, so I'm too much. No, they can't meet my need, so we are simply not a match. We are simply incompatible. We simply have different priorities. We simply have different preferences in the ways we like to spend time with our partners. So it's like, can I stop personalizing other people's behavior? Can I stop making other people's behavior or preferences mean something about my preferences? You can, once you're more secure and grounded and rooted in who you are, then we can stay in our lane of this is my needs and preferences and that's theirs. And if they aren't aligned, it doesn't mean I'm too much. I don't want other people's capacity to define your needs and the validity of your needs.
You've got such a wealth of content that we'll point to as we wrap things up. But even listening to you talk, you have such a great way of, like, I think, making this stuff land and hopefully preventing some of our listeners from kicking the can further down the road. I think that just is such a big problem. And again, I just go back to the whole kind of loneliness epidemic. I can't think of another word for it because it just comes up a lot when I'm researching anything to do with mental health. So when we're talking about relationships, I do think that is like a fear that is a big driver as to, like, why we do settle for quite shocking behavior, I think, sometimes.
Right. Yeah.
The loneliness thing, I do bring it up a lot because I know how many people it affects, and I know that it's like, it is almost like the other person in the room, ironically, isn't it?
Yeah. And if we're specifically talking about when you're single and people just say, oh, well, just love yourself and,
You're like,
spend time with yourself.
And then you see couples enjoying dinner together, and in the park and all of that stuff. It's like, when people say, like, just date yourself. And it's like, that's okay for a while. But, for our singletons that have been on their own for a long time, I think that can just be a bit patronizing, really. 100%. On the flip side, I think it's worth recognizing or acknowledging that it can also be very lonely if you're in the wrong relationship as well.
100%. Yeah.
So
if you're in a relationship where you're feeling unseen, unheard, not validated, not understood, that feels very lonely too. So I do just want to encourage us all to have a capacity to at least 50% meet our own needs, and just always know that you are the one in control of getting your needs met. And instead of staying in the relationship where you're being breadcrumbed, you can exit and seek your needs elsewhere. I love the analogy of going to the dentist, right? Like if you have a tooth that needs to be pulled, you have to seek help. You have to seek the support of an external resource to get the tooth pulled. You need others to meet your needs too, but also who's responsible for getting you to the dentist? Who's responsible for scheduling the appointment? Who's responsible for finding the dentist? You. So it's both internal, myself, and external. Both play a part in getting my needs met. But I just want to empower people to know how much they also have the power to be in control of getting their needs met. And walking away from the wrong relationship is you stepping into your power and being in control of getting your needs met by seeking them elsewhere.
I love that. So we've talked a lot about unhealthy dynamics or what we can work on. Is there anything that you could add or point to in terms of what a secure, healthy relationship looks like? Because also that doesn't necessarily mean you have to spend every moment together either, does it?
No. We want to have that balance, interdependence, right? Not dependence, not this hyper independence, but interdependence. I would say in terms of healthy, secure relationships, green flags, of course, emotional availability, presence, someone who can make you feel like they see you, they hear you, they care about your experience and what's going on within you, instead of immediately getting defensive if you bring up something that bothers you. It's great to have a partner who gets curious and says, oh my goodness, I didn't know that thing was bothering you. Let's talk about it. Someone who is not just on that defensive. Other green flags: trust. Can I be my full authentic self with you and trust that that is safe for me to be, that I'm not going to get shamed or ridiculed or judged for expressing the authentic parts of myself? That's where I would start. Someone who's consistent, someone whose actions align with their words.
Yeah. How does it feel dating somebody who is securely attached? What, for anybody that hasn't yet?
Yeah, I think that when you're dating someone who's securely attached, they have this amazing capacity to not personalize other people's behavior. They're not always on the defensive. They're not always running. So when triggers arise in the relationship, when conflict arises in the relationship, the beautiful thing about the securely attached person is they get curious about your experience because they're not immediately personalizing it as something about them. So that allows them to lean in, get curious, understand you, and seek to be a space where you feel safe, where when you're triggered, they want to offer reassurance. They don't see offering some reassurance or validation as this heavy lift or as you being needy. That, to me, is one of the biggest perks.
Yeah, and it's out there for everybody, right?
I believe so. And when you're not staying year 1, year 2, year 3, 6 months, however much in the wrong relationship, and you raise your standards and you say what your non-negotiables are, and you enter a relationship with that energy, I believe who you attract shifts. I believe what you want shifts. That's also something we didn't really touch on, right? What I want, what I'm drawn towards begins to shift when I start to show up differently, which opens up a whole new pool of partners.
And just one kind of final, I suppose, takeaway, the sort of starting point for somebody listening that recognizes themselves in the conversation and realizes they've spent years abandoning themselves in relationships. What's the first step they could take, I suppose, to meeting themselves? Because this is where the work begins, right?
Yes. If you're listening to this and you realize, oh my goodness, I'm anxiously attached, I've been betraying myself, I've been abandoning myself in my relationships, what do? I would suggest to begin this practice, this art of starting to choose yourself. When you begin to choose these parts of yourself that we've been talking about today, you organically begin to feel more secure within yourself because you finally know yourself. You start to then like yourself. You start to value and respect yourself. You start to choose and love yourself. So that's kind of like this flow that I like to share with clients. It's not this like just self-love. You're just going to love yourself overnight. Let's just start with knowing who you are. And that organically begins to build this sense of security so that when you enter relationships, you're not anxious about scaring somebody away. You're more focused on, am I choosing myself? Am I honoring myself? Is this person aligned with who I am? Instead of trying to be the chameleon all the time.
Yeah, which is so exhausting. Yeah, amazing stuff, Erica. Thank you so much. I feel like we just scratched the surface. So I can't wait to listen to your podcast. Let's point to your website and socials where people can get loads more on you. Your relationship reset.com is the website, and you've got some great freebies on there because I downloaded them all whilst doing my research. And then there's plenty of like courses as well. Instagram, you've got a massive following, your.relationship.reset. So those would be the two main places to signpost to then, would they?
Yes, those would be the main spots.
Okay, great. We'll add those to the episode show notes as well so people can directly click on the links. Thank you so much for today. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome, Gabby. This has been really good.
Hello friends, it's Gabby back with you. If you are suffering with your mental health, there is a crisis button on the My Possible Self app, which will signpost you to the correct information for immediate expert advice. Those of you who are listening on one of the podcast platforms, the My Possible Self app is completely free to download. You can access all of the content, so you don't need to worry about it costing you anything. If you found this episode helpful, please do subscribe and leave a review and share it with your friends. And to find and follow us on social media, we are most active on Instagram, and you can find us at My Possible Self. And I've been at Radio Gabby. Until the next one, do take care. Bye for now.